I'll try that as well. How
Okay.
about that? Yeah. If I find it, then I'll mail it to you.
Okay. I think I'm recording on my end too. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So, do you want to start?
Um, yeah, I guess I'll start by introducing my name. Myself, I'm Jen Gluick. I am a civil engineer to transportation engineer at the transportation division in the city of Gresham. We're actually under the Department of Environmental Services. That's just kind of how it laid out.
Mhm.
And I just started, let's say, in February of this year. Of this year, so I'm kind of the second to the newest edition, I guess.
Mhm.
And I've been doing this. Prior to this, I was on the private side, and I was doing land development. I was doing all of the Chick-fil-A's actually in Oregon. So I did that for a couple years at this one firm, and then I did some kind of land use and just construction stuff at other firms. So a total of hmm, 8 years doing that, and then prior to that, 5 years geotechnical engineering.
Mhm. It's pretty cool. So, how long have you been out of school?
Oh wow, since 2009.
Okay. So, so you've been working as an engineer since 2009, or
Yep, pretty much.
you have to take some exam, right, to be officially licensed, right?
Yes, there's actually two exams. One is the FE, and then the other one's the PE.
And when did you take those?
Let's see. I believe I took the FE when I was still in school. They gave you that option. And there's even a class that they offer for it. So I took that before I graduated. And then I just waited a few years back, maybe like within the last 4 years, I took my PE just because I wasn't sure if I was going to stay in engineering.
Mhm.
And I had some other life events that were happening.
Yeah. Should I begin the questions now?
Sure.
Uh, what has surprised you most about being an engineer?
So many things. Should I just be limited to one? um, when I was working on the private side, I did not know that there was, well, no, in general, I guess the biggest surprise would have to be that you're not just doing engineering. Sometimes you're doing remedial stuff like document logging or
Mhm.
admin stuff or um, project management stuff or just the way you manage work in general. That was kind of a big surprise. And you have to sometimes get into situations where there's a lot of interaction with other things. You have to interact a lot with architects and sometimes just the general public. So
Yeah.
I guess that answers that question. That was the biggest.
Mhm. So it's like engineering is more than just being an engineer. You have to be like fully fleshed, doing a bunch of other things that you wouldn't strictly call engineering.
Definitely.
What's something you wish you knew sooner about being an engineer?
The biggest thing I wish I knew that that engineering and working in this field was going to be a lot of project teamwork.
Mhm.
You know how you're in school and let's say you have to do a lab, right? You've got
Yeah.
these labs and you have to write up the lab report, and you have to deal with a lot of other teammates, your classmates, right?
Yeah.
And you have to rely on them because if they don't help you do what they say they're going to do, then you're kind of SOL. You're not going to get lab report or whatever thing that you need to submit. And the biggest thing is deadlines for me.
Yeah.
So um, I guess that's my answer. I don't know if I answered your actual question, but
No, yeah. So, what kind of work do you usually do, like now?
um, there you are. Hold on, I thought I lost you there. The kind of work that I do now is mostly transportation versus what I used to do previously, which was land use development.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of designing for a public infrastructure. Right now, there's a path that needs to be made, and it's public use path. And
Mhm.
there's improvements to the roadway and just widenings or just mostly street roads, street type stuff, just improvements to the right of way.
Mhm. So, are you given like a specific like location that you generally work in, or is it just like this road has some problem and we need to fix that?
Well, we're limited to the jurisdiction of City of Gresham, and City of Gresham is one of the larger jurisdictions, I guess, one of the largest cities. I want to say we're the fourth largest city within the Portland metro area. So we're definitely limited to the City of Gresham. As for where in the City of Gresham, no, it's kind of a toss up. Whoever gets the next project, whoever is has the least work or who can handle the project at
Mhm.
the time is who gets the project.
Yeah. What's your favorite project you've done so far?
My favorite project, there's a lot. Um, I worked in Nevada, and there's this solar facility there. It's a salt solar facility, and that was just really cool. That's when I was doing geotech though. I feel like I saw a lot of cool projects doing geotech, and the reason I thought that was pretty cool was you just got to see the bigger structure. And sometimes when you're doing work as an engineer, you're kind of focused in one area, and this is all you see, and this is what you're focused on. But there, I was able to do that, and I was able to see like this is what I'm doing it for this whole broad project, and it was a cool structure.
Could you tell me more about the structure?
The structure is consists of some solar panels.
Mhm.
Well, they're actually mirrors, and they all reflect sun towards. It's kind of like a mirror slash panel, and it takes the sun rays and it will reflect it towards the middle. There's this really tall tower in the middle. The way they constructed that was really cool because it went on for so many days. I don't remember exactly how many days, but it's all concrete. And you can't pour concrete just, in sections for a structure like that. That you have to pour concrete like daily or through, it's got to be continuous.
Yeah.
So it went on for sure for more than 14 days. And it was just nonstop. You're working around the clock. And then eventually, when it gets built, so the sun rays hit the panels and then they reflect towards the top of that structure. And then somewhere there, it takes that heat and it kind of melts the salt. And somehow it creates some kind of energy.
Sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And so for that project, the pouring of the concrete that was like timed out, and like everyone was on the same page about how long that would take and the steps they needed to take.
Can you say that one more time?
For that project, there was before you went into it, you had a plan on how you were going to do it and how you were going to pour all the concrete on time, right? And like everyone who was working knew about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because so it's not like you just went in haphazardly and you're like, okay, we need to keep this concrete moving.
No, yeah, definitely not. There's a timing for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just kind of engineered. I mean, down to like a Chick-fil-A drive-through. There's a certain place where you order, and by the time hopefully that you get to the front, your food will still be warm, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get that package and then off you go. and they've engineered everything. So same thing with the salt solar facility. They know how tall the structure is. They know the volume. They know how much concrete is going to get used. So each concrete truck will come to the site, and it's going to have a certain volume.
Mhm.
And then obviously when you pour the concrete, you kind of have to use that rod, or it's like a vibratory rod that they
Yeah.
kind of just stick in there. And so they know exactly. So there's a lot of planning that gets um, input into the whole schedule.
What's the what was the biggest challenge about your education?
The biggest challenge. Um, it just gets really difficult when you're trying to not just go to school, and you're working, and you have a regular life. It gets pretty busy,
Mhm.
and that's what it is, I guess. Just life in general when you're going through school. All kinds of things can happen.
Yeah. Uh, was there a specific time you knew you wanted to be an engineer?
Ugh. Ever since I was young,
Yeah.
just because my father was also a civil engineer,
Mhm.
and I'm the youngest. And he has always said from, when I was young, it's like, you're going to be a civil engineer and you're going to do this. Every time I do something, he's like, you're going to be a great engineer. Oh, you're good at math. You're going to be a great engineer. So I just kind of knew.
Yeah. It's so obviously my other classmates had to do interviews too, right? And a lot of them interviewed family members, and I thought that was interesting to see because one of them mentioned how like engineers breed engineers,
Hmm.
like a family will pass it down to their children or like nephews and nieces and stuff. I thought
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
That's pretty funny because my niece is also a civil engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what was the most enjoyable job you've been on?
Hmm. I would have to say my first job as a geotechnical engineer where I was out on the field.
Mhm.
At first, it didn't seem like that because when I graduated, I just wanted a job doing whatever in the field as soon as possible because I didn't want to get into that rut of, okay, I've graduated and then now I'm going to go work something that's not related to my degree.
Mhm.
So I pushed and pushed, and I kind of knew that I wanted to get in geotechnical engineering for whatever reason. And I did not expect what geotechnical engineering had to offer, but I learned to like it. I stayed with geotech for about 5 years, the same company. I worked in Las Vegas at that time, and it
Mhm.
was just really fun. You know, it was a lot of new stuff. You get to see all the ways that they construct certain things, roads, or like the salt solar facility. You get to see the planning stuff, digging into the ground to see if the soils are going to be okay, and to withhold the structure. And there's being out on the field teaches you a lot about engineering. And sometimes when you come across engineers that have never been out to the field, it's kind of funny because you'll start just saying things like, "Oh yeah, the grader was doing this and da 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 da," and then it's obvious that they don't know what a grader is, and then they'll ask you like, "What do you mean a grader? What does that look like? What do they do? How do you know that that's a grader?" So being out on the field for sure was a very good experience.
How would you formally define a geotechnical engineer? Like,
A geotechnical engineer is someone who uh, checks out the soil before anything gets placed on it, be it an actual structure building
mhm.
or a road or a wall, pretty much anything that it goes on. There's other things that won't have a structure on it. Let's say you're constructing a park and it's a huge amount of land, and you would think, oh, just build a park there, it's all right. But if you're going to have graders or excavators or other heavy equipment that will need to go on soil and construct all whatever needs to be constructed for this park that doesn't have any bearing for a structure, right? the soil needs to be pretty stable. It can't just sink in certain places and then you destroy the soil. So geotechnical engineers kind of make sure that that is okay. And there's a lot of really cool stuff with geotechnical engineering. But basically, we're analyzing the soil mostly for its bearing capacity. Hopefully, you've had a geotechnical class already if you're in civil engineering. Um, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Uh, what would you say is the worst part of your career? I know you like switched careers, but
Um, it's kind of the same thing. It's still engineering in one way or the other. The worst part is not knowing what to do
mhm,
or not knowing how to do it and not having enough resources around you for work. I mean, it just gets really frustrating when you don't know how to do something. It's really frustrating.
yeah,
So you have to learn on your own, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because if you learn on your own, then you kind of perfect it in your own way.
mhm,
That was one thing. The other thing would be that during a certain portion of my career, I didn't know that there was so much teamwork
mhm,
with other disciplines, like the architects and the project managers or the contractors, the subs, the subcontractors. And it's just, you have one deadline. You have one deadline, and everybody has to come together. And if not everybody participates, then it gets really frustrating because you're giving your all and other people don't.
yeah.
That sucks.
Would there be a reason people wouldn't give their all as much, or like people would have any reason not to?
There's you would think that, well, why are you just not putting your 100% in this? And there's a little bit of animosity there, but sometimes you kind of have to hone it back and just bring it back and realize that, oh, that person was dealing with six other projects and you kind of got to just give them time, or sometimes things fall between the cracks and you just have to, make sure you follow up and you have to be patient because you definitely don't want to burn the bridges that you have.
Mhm. What would you say the best part of your job currently is?
That it is less stressful than the private side.
Mhm,
I get to see the projects nearby because I'm working in the city of Gresham versus the other job, it was all throughout Oregon. And yes, I will definitely drive to Medford, but that's like so many hours away. The fact that I also live in Gresham and I feel like it is helping the community makes it makes Gresham a better place to live.
yeah,
It's just kind of unfortunate because Gresham is known for certain other things, and I just want to make it a better place before I
yeah.
leave it.
Mhm. Is there any advice you would give students working towards their engineering degree?
Yes, don't just focus on the engineering. Uh, get some field experience so you can see what's out there. Make sure that you are also a people person and you know how to interact with all different types of people, young, old. Um, yeah, that's it.
Is there anything you think you'd tell you yourself, like when you first started schooling?
Yes, get an internship or get a job earlier
Mhm,
so you get more experience and focus on everything that you possibly can. Learn everything. If you're just out investigating or if you're just out in the field and you have to just watch people work because that's what an inspector does. That's what I did for a little bit. Ask as many questions as you possibly can. Ask the subcontractor, why are you putting that pipe like that? Why are you using that bedding like that? Ask all the questions and don't be shy. And, if you have to use that excuse of, well, I just want to learn about this stuff. So, I'm not like a clueless engineer, they will definitely want to teach you.
Mhm. Well, those are all the questions that I have.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for the interview.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully I did okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will try to figure out how to get this recording to you. Hopefully I can get that to you somehow. All right.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.